that, you know, it was a negative if you had self-published and then you tried to get a traditional publishing contract. I don't believe that's true. If you have self-published successfully, it's actually a benefit when somebody like me is looking at your work. So don't be afraid of that. Like, and the other thing I tell people is, okay, your goal is to be traditionally published, right? Give yourself a period of time that you're willing to be rejected, you know, and submit everywhere. Like everywhere, all these publishers have submission guidelines on their websites. Go and review those submission guidelines, really become familiar with it. Know which publisher does your kind of work, that publishes your kind of work, and submit to them through their guidelines. Follow their guidelines to a T, because if you don't, they instantly are going to throw you out. They're not even going to read anything, okay? Before, like I've been in publishing 100 years, so in the old days when I had a publishing company and I'd go to the post office and I'd literally get one of those huge post office bins full of manuscripts, like physical manuscripts. And I'd have to wheel it out, like, and pour all those boxes into my car. But I could tell from the envelope if I wanted to, like, pursue and look further at an author. The way, you know, the envelope was handled, if it looked professionally, like, labeled, you know, it's that kind of attention that you need to pay when you're submitting your work to publishers, okay? And especially agents.
And I would say that your company is rare in that you take direct submissions from authors.
Yes.
And perhaps I should have clarified, but so the way that most publishing houses work is that you have this intermediary who is the literary agent. And so there are two gates that you have to get through. First, you have to get accepted by the literary agent, who then represents you to the publishing house, and that's the second gate that you have to get through. So most literary agents that I know and work with, I mean, you've maybe, if you're really, really lucky, got 30 seconds of their time, because they have just thousands of submissions and they're making decisions like this before they even look at your pages. So that's why we're here to talk about those opening pages, because they're so important. And I was speaking with an author this morning about the importance of the first line, right? Like really just grabbing that reader so they want to keep turning the pages. And your first most important reader, usually in traditional publishing, is that literary agent, and sometimes an acquisitions editor, if, like their publishing house, you can submit directly to an editor, but that's really rare these days.
Yeah, so all the New York houses, the big publishing houses, all require submission from agents. Like they won't let you submit directly to them as an indie author. So don't even waste your time there unless you have an agent. But there are thousands of independent publishers like LMBPN that you can submit to directly. So you need to do your homework and find who those publishers are. Like Wolfpack is here. There's a few handful of publishers that are here besides us, but we all kind of work that same way. So, like I said, just make sure that you find out who's publishing what. You find out what their guidelines are. You follow those guidelines to a T. Give yourself, what I was saying, give yourself a window of time to try to get independently published. And then once and I say 6 months, because you will go through a lot of rejection. And that's hard, like as a writer, to keep motivated while you're being rejected. So give yourself a window of time that you're willing to put yourself out there and be rejected. And once that time limit hits, go to plan B, which is to go the self-published route, and don't wait. Like, learn about that too. There's a lot to learn about self-publishing. You can learn about that while you're making submissions, right? But do that. The other thing I want to say is we at LMBPN, we only publish fiction, and we only publish series fiction. So you will need to have at least probably already written 2 to 3 books in your series with the idea of how that would be continued. So that's the other thing. I mean, no, that's a lot. To write a series is really hard, as Michael was saying yesterday. But that's the only kind of work that we publish today. So, just be aware, and that's part of the guidelines too.
And I want to overemphasize what Robin is saying, because you said fiction and series.
Yes.
And we love authors, but sometimes they think, but I've got this really great idea, and if you just saw it, no. So don't do that. Don't be that author. Your work is brilliant. Find the person who's going to love your work and want to get it out into the world. Because here's what I know about publishers and literary agents. They got into the work because they love what they do. They love books. They love stories. And you want the person who is going to absolutely fall in love with your work and want desperately to get it out into the world and advocate for you. Don't be that person who's like trying to date the cool guy in high school. Like, just leave him alone and go to the place where you belong. And like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, don't do that. It's really important to have that person who loves your work and wants to advocate for your work, because that person is going to do brilliant things for you. I mean, I get to see this every day for my authors. Like, I have authors who are like on book 8, and we've just negotiated movie deals, we've just negotiated TV series. Like, that's amazing to like see tears in somebody's eyes because they're like really living the dream of like, oh my God, my book is a movie. Like, you want that person who's gonna advocate for you in that way.
Yeah, and there's no reason why it can't be you, right? It's no reason why it can't be you too. So let's see, should we go to questions?
I like it.
Yeah, I know that you have. There's a microphone right there behind you. It'd be great if you could speak in that.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So my book starts off meeting the antagonist. Is that okay?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I kind of like it. That's the scary person, right?
That's the yes.
Yeah, I like to be scared, especially with thrillers. And the thing about thrillers too, somebody has to die pretty quick, right?
Oh, they're gonna die.
Oh, they're gonna die.
You're in good shape there then. Can I ask you a question? Are you thinking of writing a series, or how are you thinking about your book? Go back. Yeah.
So the first book is done. It's 120,000 words. Second, I'm about 40,000 words into it. And yeah, it's pretty much a series.
Okay.
So spoiler alert, the antagonist dies at the end of the first book, but his protege and all of his minions are still about.
Oh, okay. Scary.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, and let's talk about size. While he brought up 120K. For me, I think the perfect size, especially if you're writing a series, is probably between 75 and 80,000 words for the first one.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I get it, and all the books I've read, series-wise, are about that. But
yeah,
the direction it went, it just couldn't.
Yeah, you couldn't stop. You couldn't stop yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where a publisher can probably help with that too. Yeah.
Question on the timing front. Not getting any younger, and so traditional publishing
look at me.
scared me off. Yeah. With an outfit like LMBPN, does that, and Michael's sort of focus on publishing, does that shorten that timeline? I mean, 6 months you're out there trying to get published. If you pick up a series, are we still talking 2 years to come to market? Are we talking, what's that?
So the
like?
way, and that's why we like it if you've already. Am I still on? Yeah. That's why we like it if you've already, and like he is already into his second book. That's what I like to see. Like, you're already, at least have probably finished a second book before you submit, and then you're already working on your third. And the way we do it is and it goes pretty quick through our editorial process. Once it's through our editorial process, we're usually publishing within about 8 to 10 weeks. And then each book has that same sort of schedule after that. So you have to be a pretty quick writer for us too. That's the other thing I should have mentioned. Yeah, because a lot of people, that's fast, and but that's the beauty. If you've already self-published and you have that content kind of ready to go, that's why I'm kind of interested in that.
And that's the rare exception
Yeah.
in the publishing industry. It's usually a 2-year cycle.
Yeah,
so
we're fast.
When a book
we're
is
really
accepted,
fast.
you're not going to see it on shelves
Yeah.
for 2 years.
And you're going to actually start making money. Like, we also don't hold royalties. Like, as soon as we start earning income on your book, you're going to start earning income on your book too. So that's just to kind of blow my own horn up here as LMBPN. I think that's one of the unique things about our publishing program.
Okay, we'll start out with, I'm 78 years old, so I
Congratulations.
am Yes, thank you. So I am interested in rapid publishing.
Yeah.
No, I just wrote my last book in a 16-book series that I've self-published, 80,000 words each, and I'm getting ready to start a new series. It will be about, I think, 12 books, maybe more. Why should I even look at professional publishing?
Well, so I work a lot with self-published authors that ask me that same question, and I can tell you that you don't know what you don't know as far as what a publisher can add. So we're going to market probably better than you were able to do as a self-publisher, widen your readership and your audience, right? For one, I think we're also going to look at your content and maybe make some, what I call suggestions. One of my authors says, I don't take it as a suggestion when you say, I need to do something over here as far as the action with the manuscript. But just through the editing process, I think you'll find more value and your book will improve.
Okay,
It's just going to be better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in general, the reason that people go for traditional publishing is distribution. You may have already figured out that it's hard to get your book out into the world. Marketing, it's hard to get your book in front of people for them to buy it. And validation, some people really want that, and that's important for them to have that confirmation that they're published by Penguin or Simon & Schuster.
Yeah, and it's also that a publisher is going to put your book into multiple formats, ebook, print, audio, and also translate and sell rights. And what she was talking about, subsidiary rights like into television and TV, and you can't really do that by yourself as an indie author.
Right.
I've heard quite a bit about first sentence and first paragraph, first chapter. Can you speak a little bit about beyond that? Like, I noticed that you had the title of the first chapters or the first couple chapters. What do you want to see totality in that beyond just the first couple hooks?
Absolutely. So, and that's why I put together the checklist, right? Because you're continuing that action. We need to have that inciting incident right there in chapter 1. Don't save that for chapter 2. The 5 from the journalism, right? Like, we need to get those into chapter 1. Who, what, when, where, how, and why do I care? That needs to happen so that, then chapter 2 becomes a really easy continuation of like, okay, now I'm in the story, now I'm in the rising action. I'm gonna start throwing complications at this character left and right, and not just an antagonist. This person's gonna have some problems. You do not wanna be a protagonist in a novel. They have lots of problems, and they should. That's where we get really excited, is when we have a lot of conflict for them.
The other suggestion I have, and you know this as writers, that you improve as you go along, right? So you're a different author at the beginning than you are at the end. You've just gotten better at storytelling. I think you should always go back and rewrite the first chapters that you started with. You think it's done, but you've improved so much that you'll know yourself that I can do better than this, right? So I always suggest that you go back and rewrite those first chapters.
Good question, thank you.
My question goes back to the request for a series for your publishing. So from what I've researched, normally they say it's kind of a risk to submit to a publisher saying that it's a series, especially if it's your debut novel, which a lot of us are. So what makes, what makes it different for you guys wanting the multiples and being able to put that risk forward for the author. To spend the time on that when there's that potential for like other publishers to not accept that.
Yeah, so that's different. That's what's different about us. We definitely have kind of figured out how to market series, how to build readership as we go along. And so that's why we were just kind of into that sort of realm. But you're right, there's a lot of publishers that want and are fine with a one-book author, right? Typically, though, publishers want to know that you're an author that can enter their stable and you're going to produce for years, right? Because it's an investment that the publisher's making in the author. And unless your book is just unbelievably one book and that's all you have in you, you're going to have a hard time finding a publisher with one book. I believe that.
I mean,
That's
most
true.
of us probably have about 30 or 40 stories for each book, honestly.
There you go.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So there's a continuation of you don't know what you don't know. As far as the marketing is concerned, I imagine that you have a bunch of different gates that you as the publisher goes through and the author goes through for marketing, and then you'll set those up and he will accomplish whatever that task might be. Essentially, marketing, like if it was just me, I'd just be throwing it out in the wind, see what catches. But you guys have a plan.
Well, we have a plan, but and all publishers have a plan, but anybody will tell you that the author is still vital in the whole marketing. Like, just to throw it out there, I say do it, right? So I would still want you to do it even though I'm your publisher. I definitely would have a plan, yeah.
And you would have a plan for that author. Instead of going to TikTok, you might say go to Facebook. Is that?
No, I still want you to do your own social.
Oh, really?
I always want you to do your own social, and I will provide you some guidance and things that you need to do there,
Right,
yes,
right.
to improve that, yeah. But and that's something too that a publisher's looking at is, what's your platform, right? What do you have? How many followers? Every publisher looks at that.
Well, as a newbie, you don't have any.
You don't have many, yeah, I know. But a lot do. I mean, a lot of authors come with an established platform and followers, and that just sweetens the pot for a publisher in considering.
How do you feel about novellas?
We like longer. Although I have to say that we recently, I don't know if you've heard about Yonder. It's a serialized platform like Wattpad. You may have heard of Wattpad.
Railroad.
And Wattpad actually owns Yonder. And so they invited publishers to, when they launched it just a couple of weeks ago, to submit. And we were one of the publishers that they asked to provide some series content there, so we did. And so I'm anxious to see how that's going to go as a platform.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can an author who signs with you simultaneously self-publish standalones?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. It's not exclusive like that. Yeah. Was that your question? That was a good question.
Well, that's a question. I do have another one. So I heard a rumor that if you submit a manuscript and it's not ready, that publisher tends to just blackball you and they'll see your name. They won't even look at another one. Is that the case, or?
They don't remember you.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was about to say no.
All right.
No.
Sounds good. And then in series writing, how much, for you guys to look at it as a series, how much connection from book to book does that marketing scheme need? Is it so if I have a book that follows one character in a world and then the next book follows
A different character?
totally different characters, same world but totally different characters in a different place?
That's great.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, we like that, yeah. And
Thank you.
that's the way a lot of series kind of operate like that, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, anybody else? We got a minute. One more.
Yes.
Has this been helpful? Okay, good.
Extremely helpful, but I've only really got a comment. You mean they don't remember you. So Galaxy, when rejected me in 1965, they won't remember that?
They will
I'm
not
sorry.
remember you. No.
How do you feel about military thrillers?
We love those where we, LMBPN, yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you, guys.
being
Give us
here.
thumbs up ratings, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.